All right, everyone, couple major Nintendo stories we need to talk about today, starting with every Nintendo fan's favorite topic. That is none other than the ongoing Switch Pro rumor mill speculation talk, as it is back in the news and it's being debated on both sides, so we have to break down all the new details. Then the big talking point for today's video has to do with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Booster Course Pass Wave 2, and the brand new app update that hit with this, as it's not just the new additions of the tracks that were added today, and we have to go over all the details and changes right now. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below, hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. Now, as I mentioned, guys, we got a couple different stories to unpack today, and we have to kick it off with a conversation around the story that never dies. That, of course, has to do with the ongoing Switch Pro rumors and or just what is Nintendo actually planning with their next iteration of hardware, because there is a lot of reason to just want an upgraded, more powerful Switch, because it's obviously such a genius form factor, and Nintendo has absolutely struck gold with this strategy of the hybrid console in 2017 and now selling all the way well into 2022, still doing very well with the sales, but also having some decline, as you would expect now that they're past 111 million total units out there officially sold in the hands of consumers. And historically, the 5 to 6 year mark specifically around Nintendo hardware is typically when we can start to expect something like a new system. However, with the Switch's roadmap specifically, it's a little bit different, because is Nintendo going to treat this like their handheld lineup, where they do multiple refreshes and sometimes even add in the beefier processor and better frame rate support and things like that that can run at higher resolutions like the new 3DS that we saw in the past? Or are we talking about something more traditional mainline home console that they're looking at this with, where Nintendo typically doesn't actually do a pro revision like we sometimes see Sony and Microsoft do in their console generations? So there's already a lot of uncertainty around this story, and then you have all these different reports, specifically Takahashi Mochizuki driving many of these, as he has reported multiple times, a journalist from Bloomberg, saying that yes, indeed, Nintendo has sourced 4K dev kits, and 11 different independent developers have this 4K kit, and he knows about it, and Nintendo has always refuted those claims and even had a spat back and forth with the Japanese Twitter account and Takahashi Mochizuki's claims back last year. And of course, every time we see Nintendo hold a quarterly financial briefing, as I mentioned in yesterday's video, we get the question and answer section of this presentation, and that's when people can directly ask questions to Mr. Furukawa himself and get kind of tidbits of information and an inside look to maybe what Nintendo might be planning in terms of new hardware. And the tweet that has been making the rounds online reads as followed from Mr. Takahashi Mochizuki himself, where it comes from Nikkei, a Japanese publication outlet, where it says the following: Nikkei, there will be no new Nintendo Switch hardware this fiscal year, which ends in March 2023. Not immediately clear that part of the article is from Nikkei's own reporting or what Nintendo president, who Nikkei interviewed for the story, said. Now, you then had a follow-up tweet from David Gibson, who actually translated the exact comments from Mr. Furukawa himself, and he has this to say. Article quotes Nintendo CEO, normally it would stockpile inventory in the summer to be ready for the end of the year when it's at its peak. This summer, we have not been able to produce as much as in previous years. Even if we can produce the volume that we want, I'm not optimistic that we will be able to sell it all. Guidance calls for the sale of 18 million in the next 9 months. So we have to dive into an extra layer of detail with this story, because it's definitely convoluted on the surface level. So it sounds like the article is reporting that Nikkei, in their opinion, believe that Nintendo is not releasing any kind of new hardware in this current fiscal year, which ends in March of 2023, due to the fact that Nintendo said they can't even source as many Switches as they want to, and even if they could source all of those Switches, they don't think they would be able to sell them all. You then have opinions online, which I tend more to agree with, which just sounds like they're saying even if they had the demand, meaning every Switch was on the shelf everywhere, which is pretty easy to find right now in the US. You may have some struggles with the OLED model just walking into a store and finding one, but if you order online, you can find these things. Nintendo's actually claiming that yes, indeed, if their production line was running at 100% and had no chip shortage issues or no supply chain issues, that they're not confident that they could actually sell all the Switches that they produce right now, which sounds a lot more like the opinion of, well, maybe it's time to start looking into reselling our existing users user base on an upgraded model, as opposed to expecting the Switch to just keep delivering these crazy consistent numbers of 20 plus million year in and year out total unit sales. And maybe it's time to start having that conversation for something around a new, more powerful model. And while that's clearly not what Nintendo's president said at all, he's just concerned with delivering the expected forecast and shareholder expectations when it comes to a revenue perspective. And the reality is he is never going to for sure hint or do any kind of press release for what Nintendo's actually planning next in these kind of questions. Now, yes, do they have to be truthful and honest? So like a direct question, if it was asked from Nikkei, which I don't believe it was, maybe we will get the official transcript soon and we can revisit this topic. But the official question would have been, are you planning to release new Switch hardware in this current fiscal year? And if his answer was straight up no, well then we should actually be able to take that at face value. But this article and the way it was written sounds like an opinion based off his statement about supply concerns. So it's kind of strange to begin with that this is being tied into next gen or new Switch hardware talk happening this year or not at all. And so with this, like many other stories, we are just in a wait and see scenario with what Nintendo will actually do. If I'm a betting man and I'm putting any kind of money on this thing, I don't expect the Switch Pro or whatever a new revision of the Switch would be to launch this year at all. In fact, I think the earliest it launches is alongside of Breath of the Wild 2 in the spring, which, yes, Breath of the Wild 2 may indeed be a title that is planned before the end of March 31st, 2023, which would technically put it in this type of window, which would essentially throw out the reports and the speculation that maybe Nintendo is going to launch their more powerful console alongside of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. But that date is the spring. It doesn't end in March 31st. So we could absolutely see Nintendo rather start off a fiscal year very strong instead of just finishing off one that they would like to do. But you also have to keep in mind, if they're looking at the broader issues with supply constraints and not even being able to ramp up production enough for the current model Switch for the end of the year, maybe they just have a sales decline for a little while and Breath of the Wild launches late April alongside of a more powerful console. Like, I don't think this story actually outlines any specific plans around what Nintendo may or may not do, and it's not even a direct statement from Furukawa around that they officially will not release hardware the rest of this year like some people are thinking, according to that Chinese forum mainly, which the portion of that leak where somebody is claiming that there's a new Switch family of system in hardware production. He expected it to come out maybe as soon as this year, but that was like his opinion and speculation on that part. That was not concrete. I know it's coming out this year. It was just opinion. I still am in the camp that I believe Nintendo is working on something new for the Switch, and I do think that because of continued claims that it's in the halfway point of its life cycle and just the rampant success around the console, that it's very likely that we will get something that is more powerful before the end of this thing is wrapped up and we're talking about a true successor. But that's clearly all up for debate and speculation on both sides. So I want to hear from you guys on this particular story. What do you think about the report and the way it's kind of framed from Nikkei specifically? Do you think they're accurate with what Furukawa was intending to say, or is this kind of more their opinion on the matter based off the supply constraints? And what do you personally think Nintendo has planned in terms of new hardware, if anything at all? So please share all your thoughts and feelings on all things Nintendo Switch and future hardware revisions in the comments down below. Now, the other story we're talking about today has to do with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and the brand new update that just went live earlier today, known as Booster Course Pass Wave 2, that of course consists of 8 new tracks that, by the way, before we break down the changes in the app that were bundled in with this update, these tracks are fantastic. I got a chance to play through all 8 courses before filming, and it is just so much fun to have brand new courses in Mario Kart. We know to expect new continued ones to come. Just about all the tour tracks I have not played, so those feel like new ones to me. And then the mix in of nostalgia with courses that I remember, like Mario Circuit 3 from the SNES, Calamari Desert from the N64, Mushroom Gorge from the Wii, and then we have to take a minute to talk about Waluigi Pinball and how fantastic of a course that is through and through. Even the soundtrack just being a banger soundtrack. Like, go listen to it, go play it. That is a ton of fun and definitely a good final send-off level for that first cup. And one thing that was a surprise addition to this update, of course, was a brand new from the ground up track that was not featured in Tour previously, meaning that Nintendo is actually going to be developing entirely new experiences with part of these waves as well. And the data mine even shows that we have plenty of these new or unannounced tracks to look forward to, as we pretty much know now at this point which systems these classic tracks will come in from, and then the unidentified ones are assumed to be new tracks or Tour tracks that don't have a location tied to them. But Sky High Sunday, go play play that one too. Another fantastic course. The way it accentuates the gravity mechanic of Mario Kart 8 is fantastic, and you feel like you are really flying up a sky-high sundae, which is a great name for it, and it's crazy colors, good sounds, everything about it. I am pumped for this update to finally hit. However, we do have to break down some of the surprise patch notes that came along with this update, as some things that we did not expect to be changed were actually changed behind the scenes, as you can see the following posted up over on Nintendo Everything, where it says Mario Kart 8 Deluxe update out now, version 2.1.0 patch notes. Of course, the obvious: support for DLC now supports paid DLC, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass Wave 2, 2 cups and 8 courses. General, increase the number of ghosts you can download from 16 to 32, adjusted the extent to which a vehicle is thrown depending on its weight, further shortened the time it takes for item boxes to regenerate after another player takes them, shortened the time it takes for one player to be able to pick up a coin that another player has dropped, made it so that it is easier to face the way forward in midair when using smart steering. The cars that the Shy Guys are riding in Wii Coconut Mall now move from time to time in all modes other than the time trial mode, which, by the way, they actually violently crash into you and attempt to run you over, don't just occasionally move like it says in the update. Fixed issues, fixed an issue where a player could not choose a DLC course even though a player in the lobby in Friends has the booster course pass. Fixed issue where player did not receive coins even though they used the feather and coin runners to steal a rival's coins. And finally, fixed issue where player could receive 2 items from 1 item box in N64 Toad's Turnpike. Now, while that's all just mainly tweaks and general maintenance and updates, I do think it's notable because it kind of paints a picture and sets a precedent that Nintendo could be very well planning the same kind of linear update schedule to this Mario Kart 8 experience as what we saw with games like Smash Bros. Ultimate, where clearly the character roster, every time you got new fighters added in things, tweaks were made and little refinements were made with all of the updates. And we may not see many more changes to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe because by all accounts it's already a fantastic gameplay experience and really doesn't need to be altered much. But I do think that continued love, support, and care, and just a closer look at the game is a good news scenario from Nintendo, as this is going to be our Mario Kart experience for the foreseeable future, for sure through the end of 2023, and we're really probably talking end of 2024 or even into 2025 before we're talking about a from the ground up brand new Mario Kart game to hit the market. So I personally am 100% on board with these continued updates and the new booster course pass waves. I want to hear from you guys at this point in the video on both the different stories we talked about today. How are you feeling about Nintendo and their future hardware plans, and what do you personally think they will do with whatever is next for Nintendo Switch hardware? And definitely share with me how you like the new Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass Wave 2. Are you enjoying the tracks, and have you gotten a chance to check them out yet? What are some of your favorite standout ones that were added in this wave, and what are some tracks that have not been added yet that you certainly hope we see in the future, as well as these continued bug fixes that we're seeing with these updates hit? So regardless of your thoughts and feelings on everything we talked about today, I do look forward to hearing from you all in the comments down below before you leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics. Go watch yesterday's video next if you haven't already, where we break down all the new details we learned from yesterday's Pokemon Presents event, as well as a conversation with Nintendo and their quarterly financial briefing results and why it is great news for the trajectory of the Switch. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.